Alright, so in this tutorial I'm just going to show you how to make like some simple 3D stuff inside of Photoshop. It's nothing too exciting. Alright, first thing we're going to do is open up Photoshop, create a new document. I'm just going to choose 2000 by 2000. If you just go to like the art illustration and a 2000 pixel grid by 300, honestly the size is sort of irrelevant, but I'm just going to choose that. We'll hit create. It's going to create a 2 by 2 big cube here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to do like let me see, if you go on my site, I'm basically going to create this. Okay, so I need to make this image and then loft it, this little wood plaque part here. So to do that, I am going to open up, let's go desktop. I basically already added, I already found a picture of wood. So I'm going to open that up. I'm just going to Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and we're going to Control V to paste. Here it is here. And I'm just going to select the top, cut it, select the bottom, cut it, and then I'll just make this a little bit more than just a square. I'm just going to go ahead and switch to the Ellipse Marquee tool, and I'm going to start in the corner. I'm going to zoom in here. If you hold Alt and then scroll with your wheel, it'll move in. Now if you click and drag, as soon as you hit Alt, it actually starts from the center. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm hold Shift so it makes it consistently the same. So it's a circle and not an ellipse, like that. And then I'll just hit delete. Mind you, I'm on this layer. And I'll zoom out a little bit. And all I'm going to do while I still have the marquee, I'm just going to drag it and bring it over here. Try to center it as best I can. This isn't, I'm just eyeballing it. And I'm just dragging to each section and just hit delete. Bring it over here and delete. And then I'll hit Control D to clear it out, or Command D if you have a Mac. Good. So there's my little plaque. That's what I'm going to make. Okay. So at this point, what I'm going to do is basically convert this to a 3D layer. So I'm going to go to 3D, and we're going to do new 3D extrusion from selected layer. Boop. And it asks if we want to switch to a 3D workspace. Sure. Okay. And voila. So, what I can do is rotate my camera here, and you can see it made it this thick. That's not really how thick I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, and if you look into 3D, so you can click on layers, and this gives you a layer, and it gives you a generic kind of general thing. But if you're in the 3D layers, it'll give you, it'll be like a more specific of this one layer, because you can have multiple layers that are 3D, but they all exist in their own environment. So I'm going to click on 3D. And then I'm going to click on this, okay, because this is what made it. And you can see it has extrusion depth in the properties up here. I'm just going to go ahead and drag that back a little to like there, because that's how much I want it extruded, okay? So the extrusion depth is just the depth of the object, okay? And that all looks fine. No biggity there. Now, we have front inflation material. Not 100% sure what that one is, but I do want the extrusion material is this area in there. That's what was extruded, right? So let me just check something real quick. The back has texture, although we're never going to see the back anyway. So I'm going to go with the extrusion material, and I'm going to take my diffuse, and I'm going to use layer 1, and that will basically use the same wood, but still doesn't look that great. So let's try this. I'm going to go back to the extrusion material, and I'm going to change this to this one. Boop. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Basically, it was a built-in wood material. It's not that great, but it'll still be better. So let's see, bevel, right here. So there's a whole bunch of them that are options, different materials, and then you can change what the texture map that's applied to it. Okay, so I can still do layer 1, but it's still not giving me quite what I wanted. So anyway, let's go with the default. Oops, wait a minute. See, now it's making a custom. Let's go back up. Click on that. All right. Okay. So, oops, that's not what I wanted. So yeah, there we go. We got that going on. Good. So now I got that basic kind of plate thing going here. I'm just gonna rotate this like this. Let's see, space bar. Oh. Okay. Now, if you want to navigate, you click out here, but you can also click on these, and this will pan. All right, this one rotates, but you can already do that anyway. And then this one dollies in and out. Okay. All right, so we're gonna call that good. That's our plaque. I'm more or less happy with that. And good. All right. So I'm just gonna click off of that layer. If you click on the layer, it brings up the 3D. So okay. What I want to do now is make the fish. So what I would suggest is there's a bunch of different ways to go about doing things. You can go into Photoshop itself, and you could do something like this. I could make a new layer, just an empty layer, and I could go to 3D, and we could do new mesh from layer. Postcard will just make a looks like a postcard, just a blank plane. And then there's also this mesh presets, which these are basically just built-in ones that it has. Okay, so like there's a hat, right? And basically it's a hat. It's really, and then you could paint on it if you want and stuff, but I don't really find that particularly useful. So if you don't want to use a preset, you can go out and find a model, or you can try and make something. So I did put a connection to this program, the Sculpted Gl. And basically, it's a program where you can sculpt onto a model here. So if I hit W, it'll show me the wireframe. Okay, so there it is. To navigate, you just click and drag out here. Alt and click and drag is pan. And then Alt, click and drag, and then let go of Alt, or Option if you're on Mac, is zoom in and out. Okay, so it's the same as ZBrush. Now, what I'm going to do is go to Topology up here. And I want you to click on Activated No Quads. Basically, this is going to make a dynamic topology. Right now, if I were to change this to, let's say, move, and I'm going to hold X to change the size of my brush, what you're going to see is it just stretches out the geometry. Okay, see that? Control Z. Actually, let's make this. Oops. The buttons are a little bit different than normal, which is sometimes okay, sometimes not. So watch when I grab this a little bit. That's getting a little funky there. Hang on a second. It gets stretched out, right? Which is no good. But if I were to put on this no quads, you can see the geometry gets a little bit weird, but also and it remesh, and then it should it'll remake it each time. Okay. So just turn on Activated No Quads. And then start sculpting. So what I first start doing is underneath the sculpting and painting, just use the move tool. You can hold X to change your brush size, and just generally try to get a shape here. So I don't really like that. Let's try to get something more in the center here. Okay, so like that, and then something like that. I don't really know what I'm making here. Just something. Imagine it's not terrible, if you can, in your mind's eye. It's a little bit wonky, this program. I'm not sure if I like it or not. Now, to smooth stuff, you hold Shift. Okay. Now, I'm looking at this, and the geometry is kind of dense. So, you see where it says subdivisions or resolution up here? Sorry, I'm going to pull this down and hit remesh, and it's going to make it at a lower res, which makes it a little bit easier. So now when you see when I hold Shift, I'm going to hold Shift and X to make it bigger. But Shift just switches your brush to smooth. So it's a good idea that after you do some strokes that you smooth it, like so. So I'm just going to make like an ugly fish here. So we'll just hold X, make that bigger. Push this up. Pull that out. Oops, not this way. Okay. I want to squish you in. Squishity squish. Okay. I'm going to smooth that out. Alright. This is pretty amazing. Alright, so I'm going to switch from move to brush. Make sure I have this activated no quads. And I am going to, oops, hang on a second, boink, back this thing up. Alright, and I'm going to hold X, and we will just brush. Oops, I'm going to turn W off to get the wireframe off so I can see a little bit better. Okay, and I'm just going to brush a bunch here. I'm going to hold smooth to smooth that out. don't feel like spending forever on this, but I'm sure you get the idea. So we'll just kind of brush that up, and I'll hold Shift and X and bring that down, and smooth that back out. Shift X. Why are you so big? Smooth. I don't want you so big. Okay. Pretend like that's a nice looking fin. Yada yada yada. Okay. Now we'll just make it like a basic eye. So if you hold Alt and brush, it'll actually cut inwards. Okay. So I'm just gonna kind of go like this. All right, and we'll just give them a little mouth here. I smoothen the top part, but not the bottom. All right, so there's a lot more to this sculpting and stuff. Maybe I'll make a video later about it, but just imagine it was good. Another brush actually that's useful besides the brush, which is just basically adding or removing clay. There's also the move, obviously, which is just pulling and whatever. The other one that's really useful is crease. So basically, what that one will do is this. It will draw a line. It'll make a crease, if you will. Okay, so if you want to like really make something more defined, just use crease. Okay, all right, I'm going to call that good enough. So once you're happy with your terrible thing, what you're going to do is you're going to take it and you're going to go to save and save in OBJ. Boop. And it's just going to act like you're going to download it, hit OK, and it's going to go up here. Okay, so, just locate it in your downloads folder. Go back to Photoshop. Now what I'm going to do is go into 3D, and I am, now you can do this. I can go to 3D and do new 3D layer from file, which will actually bring it in. But when I do that, it'll create a new 3D layer. So it'll be separate of this one. I want them to coexist in the same 3D environment. So I'm actually going to go in here and right click and do, where are you? Oh, sorry, not in there. In here. And go into scene, right click, and we're going to do add from file. So I'm on scene here, right click, and we're going to add from file. And then I'm just going to go to my downloads folder because I just made that fish, your mesh it's called. And whatever, just go OK. It will take a second. Now the thing is, make sure your geometry is not overly dense because it'll have difficulty working with it. Now what you're gonna notice is I can rotate this around, but it's moving my scene, not my object. If you want to move the object, just make sure you still have this selected, but you click on the object itself, and then you can move them. So the arrows are translate, okay, and the these little lines here are rotate. Okay. You can also do it this way. If you go to the properties, while I have this object selected, I can change the numbers here. So I could type in like -90 to make sure this is perfectly, oops. And now if I want to just move the scene again, I just click out here so I don't have the object selected. And then I'm back in the scene. There's also this orthographic view up here. So I'm going to click on this. Let me see. That's not it. Where is it? Here we go. You can swap main and secondary. You click on that, and now I'm in the this orthographic view. I'm going to take this and just push it up against here. I'm going to swap these out again. Click boop. All right. I'm going to move this down, and I'm looking at it, and it's too big, right? So I'm going to click out here, just turn around, and we're going to use this to pan over. Click back on it, and I'm going to, in the middle, this will scale it uniformly. I just want to scale this guy down a little bit. Click off, and he's terrible, but that's what we got. Okay, so there's my fish. Oops, keep holding Alt because that's the normal navigation for other things. All right, good. We'll zoom in here. Just gonna pan this up a little. All right, and in the next video, I'll just show you how to quickly color this guy, and then we'll kind of go from there.